Hi, I've got a question for you. Have you ever wanted to print out your SharePoint list view? Of course you have, but that's always been challenging. As much as SharePoint lists are the heart of SharePoint and we work with them all the time, SharePoint doesn't give us a good way to print out that SharePoint list view. We're going to start by taking a look at some of the limitations and why it's so hard for us to get that print output from the SharePoint list view. And then we're going to take a look at a new template that you can use to get that print output that you've been looking for, either to a PDF or straight to your printer to have a paper copy. So now, let's get SharePoint smart. Okay, so this is the print template that we're going to take a look at in a moment. But before we get to that, let's go over to SharePoint and let's explain what it is that we hope to do. It's often the case that we want to get a report from our SharePoint list. So we've got all of these columns stretching across the page, and we just simply want to print that out. Either we want to get a piece of paper or we want to send that to a PDF. And if I just invoke my browser print command, I am not going to get good output. In particular, you'll notice that there's spacing. I don't really have good borders or formatting on the header, and it cut off the right side of the page, so that's very frustrating. I could play around with the scaling and the printing to try and scrunch everything in, but then it's going to look even worse. So it's not adjustable, and just using the straight browser print doesn't help me. In SharePoint, I don't have any print options available to me. There's no direct way for me to facilitate that printing. So that's what we're looking for. There are ways to do automated workflow and processes that is time consuming. We can get into Power Automate, we can take SharePoint fields and send them to a document, that type of thing. Not a very fast or fluid process for us at all. So now we're going to take a look at how we can get print output going in a list like this. So at SharePoint dashboards, there is a new template called Print Grid. And this takes your SharePoint list view and will reformat it into a nicely formatted grid that will look nice in your print output. And you can fine tune it and adjust it to look however you want. So first, let's take a look in our preview window at what our output might look like, and I'll show you how you can make adjustments to that. So let's put in asset tracking report. That's going to be our title. And then I have controls over alternating row colors, so I can make that look a little different if I want to. I can adjust that however I like. If you don't like that alternating row effect, you can just set them both white. It's just whatever your preference is. And then I can tweak all of these different things. So I've got a header background color. I can make that light yellow if I want to. If I wanted to change the border colors for some reason, I can do that. If I want to, change the color of the text, everything about this is adjustable in a fluid manner so that you can get exactly the look and feel that you're looking for, and I can tweak it. So maybe I want a little cell padding going on here, so I can just make those adjustments. I can adjust the overall grid width. Everything about this you can tweak so you can get that really nice looking print output. And then in the bottom, I'm going to put in all of my fields. Now also what you can do is set the column width percentages, and that's a key part of this, and you're going to see how that works in a second. So what I need to do is take a look at my SharePoint list view. And first of all, I need to see how many columns I've got. Now if I count across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got 11 columns, and I need to start by doing some percentages for my widths. Well, my first two columns don't really need a lot of width, so I'm going to show you how you do this. You want it to add up to 100%. So in this field where it says column percentage widths, I need to go ahead and fill in values. So I'm going to do 5% for the first two columns, and then everything after that I'm going to do 10%. Now what you can do after is tweak that. So this is just a starting point for me. So let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so those are the column width percentages, which I'll probably adjust later. And then the other thing I need to do is put in the field names. And then I'll be ready to apply this template. So what I'm going to do is come back over to SharePoint, and I just need to get those field names from the header. So we've got ID, cost, request, requester. Okay, so just do ID, cost, request, requester. Now, I happen to remember something, that request field was originally the title field on the SharePoint list. I do need to refer to that name, so I'm going to switch that. And then after requester, I've got color, status, then request date. Okay, and then what have we got after that? After request date, we have modified, approved, created by. And then there's one last one, which is modified by. Now in SharePoint, there's some special internal names for some of these fields. And in fact, in the notes section, you're going to see a note about that, and it'll clue you in. The modified field internally in SharePoint is referred to as the editor. And the created by field internally is referred to as the author. So I just needed to adjust those couple of names. Normally you're not going to have to worry about that, but if you do want to reference the created by or modified by fields, you do need to use those special field references. So I've got all of my fields in there, and I should be able to go ahead and copy my template, follow the directions in the box, then I can hop back over to SharePoint, and I go to the Format Current View, Advanced Mode, select all, paste, and save. There's my report. Now, of course, when you're doing this, you're going to want to make adjustments after you do this. So right away, I can see this is bigger than I want. There's more spacing, so I want to make adjustments to that. So what you can do is hop back and forth between SharePoint and your template configuration to get exactly the output that you're looking for. So I don't want my text size to be that big. So there's a field, grid font size. I want to make that 12 instead of 16. You can see my preview change right away, so I already kind of know what it's going to look like before I apply the template. So I can paste that in and save. And then let's check our grid width. Okay, we have that set at 1200. I like that width. I'm going to go ahead and stick with that. And let's go ahead and switch that header color back. I like it, just with a light gray background. So I'll do that, and I'll do the black header color. So you can see it's very easy for me to make those minor adjustments and then just copy and paste over, and it will just adjust for me until I get that output that I want. So the whole purpose of this is to get ready to do printing, and I'm going to show you just how easy that is. Now before, at the beginning of our video, you noticed how our print output was terrible. Really not anything suitable to hand anybody, certainly not as a PDF or anything like that. Now when I go to the printer command from the browser, you're going to see that our output looks distinctly different. Now I have a couple of options. I can either print to the PDF, or alternatively, if I just want to go to the printer, I can do that. So either output's going to work great for us. Now you do want to make sure you have your settings a particular way, and this is easy to do. For one, we want to make sure we're using colors, because we did use colors in our background. We want to make sure our layout's set at landscape. And then I also want to make sure of some other settings. Margins default, usually that would be fine. If you want to try a minimal margin instead, you can check that out and try that, but normally default is fine for that. Scaling also can be default. I'm in the Chrome browser. If you use Edge, the settings are very much the same. In the template, there is a link to some information for you if you want to get more help on printing. So there's a printing help section if you need more detailed information about that. So the other thing, and this is especially key, we don't want to see the headers and footers. We want to get rid of that. That shows the URL and all that gobbledygook. So make sure you uncheck headers and footers. And we do want to see the background graphics. We lose the colors otherwise. So make sure those two options are applied in the more settings area. That stage you're ready to go. I can just go ahead and click print. And because I select PDF, it's going to save a PDF to my desktop. So I'll do asset tracking report and save. Okay, and now I'm going to go to my desktop and open my PDF. There it is. So just as we had wanted, this went ahead and printed to PDF. You can see the width is exactly how we want it, and it does our page breaks for us and everything. So we have some really nice output directly from our SharePoint list view. So what you're going to be able to do is create these special views. So I may have my other view set up where I'm doing my other formatting and things like that, but then I can just create a print grid formatted view that's especially set up and suited for printing. So there's a lot of versatility. Even if you have a lot of columns, you can use this template. In fact, you can enter as many as 20 different columns. And in that situation, of course, you're going to want to reduce your font sizes, to get everything on there, because in general what you're trying to do is get everything to the width of your SharePoint page, and you can make that happen just by making adjustments to the font size and other settings, as well as making adjustments to your column widths to make sure everything fits in. So if for any reason I did want to adjust the column widths, I can just tweak those if I want to make something a little bit skinnier or wider according to the content in my SharePoint list. So lots of options and versatility in terms of what you can do. Okay, I hope you guys found that interesting. There are a lot of different directions that people go in when they're trying to get that print report output. And in almost all cases, there's some kind of frustration, or it's time consuming, or we just don't quite get what we want. What I've shown in this demonstration is a way for you to get that formatted view, which is going to make it where your browser can print it out and it's going to look nice. And get us past that hurdle that we have with SharePoint, where we just can't easily get good print output from a list view. So I hope you found that interesting. This is a template you can get over at SharePointDashboards.com. It is the print grid template. It's linked below the video. If you've never checked out any of these templates, you can go ahead and sign up to get access to 20 free templates. And from there you can go on and access all the other great templates that are available to you on that site. Hope you found that interesting. Hope you're getting some cool printouts going using this template. Good luck.